The mid-2000s for gamers is frowned upon for being edgy and emo. Games like Shadow the Hedgehog were criticized for trying too hard to be mature. It was also known as the Dark Age for Sonic. This era would also be known as the rebirth and death of an icon, Spyro the Dragon. After Insomniac Games' 4-year contract with Universal was over, Spyro was passed on to various developers to keep the Purple Dragon alive. Games after the Year of the Dragon got mixed reception as they didn't stay true to the past Spyro games. Then, in 2006, Spyro would get a reboot under the name of the Legend of Spyro series. Developed by Chrome Studios, Big Ant Studios, and Amaze Entertainment, and published by Vivendi Games and Activision. This reboot would breathe new life into Spyro, but it was short-lived, as Activision would steer the dragon in a different direction. Skylanders. The games got a favorable reception, even though Spyro's look was divorced from the PlayStation design. Skylanders would become a franchise separate from Spyro, and we wouldn't get a proper Spyro game until 2019 with the reignited trilogy. Whenever people bring up the Legend of Spyro series, you often hear how much they hated the gameplay, convoluted story, and strange voice cast. Not many even remember this series of Spyro games. It's almost turning into a lost piece of history. However, I look back fondly on these games, even with their quirks and gauntlets of enemies. These games helped me bond with my twin brother, inspire me to create, and look deep into myself. This is the legend gamers forgot, but I fondly remember. A common parallel people will draw with the Legend of Spyro series is The Lord of the Rings, mostly for the game's soundtrack and casting Elijah Wood as Spyro. There's also this level that looks very much like the battle at Helm's Deep. Other than that, The Legend of Spyro is its own story. I'll never understand how people say The Legend of Spyro copied Lord of the Rings' homework. It's become a joke that critics often recycle for laughs. Haha, Spyro voiced by Frodo! He's Frodo! Laugh! People will have their opinions, and that's okay. I'm giving mine right now, but first, I would like to look at the game's history. After the original trilogy, Spyro was met with mixed reception with the Game Boy Advance games, A Hero's Tale, Enter the Dragonfly, and A Shadow Legacy. With Spyro against the wall, Sierra's producers Michael Graham and Christopher Wilson were at a crossroads. They could either retire Spyro or reboot him. The latter was chosen. The duo was tasked to give Spyro a new origin story and new story concepts. Michael and Christopher mentioned that they didn't plan for a trilogy, even though the concepts could span over 3 games. The trilogy was given a small budget of $10 million, restricting the amount of resources for the games. After Dawn of the Dragon, Michael Graham stated that they had only scratched the surface and had more plans for The Legend of Spyro. However, when Vivendi Games merged with Activision in 2008, they decided to take Spyro in a different direction. The big takeaway here is that without Michael and Christopher's decision to reboot Spyro, the Purple Dragon wouldn't be soaring high. Did you hear that, critics? Without the Legend of Spyro series, Spyro would be dead! Let that sink in!
Chill. I invented chill!
The cast features Elijah Wood as Spyro, Gary Oldman as Ignitus, Cree Summer as Cinder in A New Beginning, Mae Whiteman as Cinder in Eternal Night, Christina Ricci as Cinder in Dawn of the Dragon, Blair Underwood as Hunter, and Mark Hamill as Malefor, to name a few. Cinder's voice changed throughout the games to represent her progression. However, it's interesting that Spyro's voice didn't change in Dawn of the Dragon, whereas Cinder does. Speaking of voice changes, Sparks. He was first voiced by David Spade, then Billy West in Eternal Night, and Wayne Brady in Dawn of the Dragon. Critics will often say that his voice was changed as previous actors didn't want to voice a character in a failing game series. That is wrong. It was due to scheduling conflicts, and those tend to happen. Despite these bumps in the road, the team was determined to revive Spyro and portray him in a way never before seen. While the games received mixed reviews, a CGI film was planned for The Legend of Spyro. It was ultimately cancelled due to Spyro taking yet another direction. The darker tone of The Legend of Spyro really paints the picture that Spyro, as an icon, was on a tightrope after a Shadow legacy. The purple dragon goes on a journey of self-discovery, and commits to his purpose. Being chosen isn't all it's cracked up to be, it's a burden. If I was Spyro and I learned that purple dragons were special and were to direct the fate of the era they were born in, I would explode, and explode again!
Can you do that? Can you explode twice?
This trope is often mocked by critics since it's overused. Whether or not it was portrayed well in the Legend of Spyro series is up to you. When I played these games for the first time, I had fun playing Spyro. Mind you, my first Spyro game was Enter the Dragonfly. While I did have some enjoyment, it paled in comparison to Dawn of the Dragon. Yes, me and my twin brother played these games in reverse order. Oops! When playing with another person, you get that teamwork aspect a lot more than playing by yourself. The first two games were single player, so it's cool seeing the last game have co-op. Immersing myself in the world of these games inspired me to write stories that would become my YouTube series. Most notably, Sonic the Windbreaker. I know it's cringe, I was a kid, leave me alone! I had plans for 7 seasons, but cancelled it in favor of World Heroes and Secret World. While Secret World reached the finish line, World Heroes didn't. The long hiatus made me lose sight and passion for it. Why am I telling you this? How is it relevant? The Legend of Spyro ignited my passion to write, and would breathe life into my channel. Nowadays, it's hard to feel that same passion I once had, since everyone is so cynical and critical. It's all about chasing trends and selling out to sponsorships. It's soulless. People who pour their heart and soul into their art hardly get the recognition they deserve. It's a tragedy, worse than Romeo and Juliet. I can hear and feel the passion when I play these games. Yes, they aren't perfect, but they don't have to be. There's something about low-quality art that can't be translated in polished art. It's the late nights, the grind to make it work, and the love the artist feels when they work on the piece they want to show the world. You might think that if an artist loves to create, then they'd be good at it. Here's the thing. No one can be perfect at anything. An artist who loves to create commits to their vision, even if critics complain. Of course, many artists wish to increase the quality of what they create, but spending thousands of dollars on equipment with no promise of it paying out isn't optimal. I've said it a million times, but I'll say it again. It's not about your resources, but your resourcefulness. Out of the 3 Legend of Spyro games, my favorite is The Eternal Night. I vividly remember watching Ant Dude review this game, and he couldn't get past this portion of the game like he is a game journalist.
I got to this fight with these 2 scorpion things, and this was the final straw. I was stuck on these things for like 20 minutes. They're nearly impossible to hit. If they hit you, you'll be stun locked and then just hit again. Sometimes these cannonballs get shot at you and you take even more damage if you weren't already having a bad time. I was already not liking the game, but this was my breaking point. I kinda just feel like nothing when playing this game.
When playing this game.
Stay in the middle of the arena as to not get hit by the cannonballs. And you use your comet dash to get away as to not get hit by any of them. Come on! Come on! And then... done! That's how it's done, Ant Dude! It is possible! I don't have a breaking point! Get f***ed!
Oops.
The Eternal Night is the second game of the trilogy, and plays like a new beginning, only you can slow down time and use motion controls if you play on the Wii. Quills are also added, and each one grants you 5 pieces of concept art. After beating the game, you unlock 5 dragon challenges, and after clearing all of them, you unlock Dark Spyro. Dark Spyro is rather broken in the game, as he can take out enemies quicker. Though it's fitting as a final unlockable, aside from getting all the concept art. Each level is linear, going from point A to point B, fighting enemies, platforming, and the occasional puzzle. On paper it sounds generic and boring, but with a gripping story and heavenly soundtrack added to the mix, it's a recipe for a legendary experience. Spyro in this game loses his powers after the events of A New Beginning, and gets them back through dreams. Each dream tests your skills on the element you acquire. Near the end of the game, you traverse White Isle, and you finally meet the Chronicler. We learn about the first purple dragon, Malefor, whom the apes are trying to revive at the Night of Eternal Darkness, hence the game's title. Despite the Chronicler leading Spyro to safety from the Night of Eternal Darkness, Spyro decides to help Cinder and stop Gull. During his fight, he absorbs the evil energy during the lunar alignment and becomes Dark Spyro. This new power destroys Gull by turning him to stone and shattering him. After Cinder stops Spyro from being controlled by the darkness, they get trapped in the rubble, and Spyro is forced to encase them in a crystal to fight another day. The song that plays during the end credits, called This Broken Soul, is sung by Rebecca Nubly. Can you help me pronounce that last name, please?
Nubul.
Boo has helped compose this incredible soundtrack. Whether or not you like the games, you gotta admit, the soundtrack is peak. I cannot overstate how much this trilogy means to me. It's a well of inspiration and fond memories. While I remember being religiously influenced in a negative way, these games soften the blow. I do have a fondness for spiritual representation, as my roots are spiritual, but no, I draw the line at using it to justify harassment and murder. The games do portray a good versus evil scenario, but with Cinder in the mix, it's not so black and white. I love Cinder as she repents for her actions, even though it wasn't really her fault. It goes to show she has good character. I know I'm not the only one who loves this trilogy with a passion. It's a shame these games didn't get the best review scores, or tons of merchandise. I want that Spyro Wii remote holder! Give it to me! Maybe one day, we'll get remasters of the trilogy, or a fourth installment, but that's only a dream for now. I hope this video encourages people to play these games, or think differently about the Legend of Spyro series. It was never a copy of Lord of the Rings, or the end of Spyro. It was a new beginning, and a revival. Remember, without these guys' decision to reboot the Purple Dragon, he wouldn't be getting the Spyro 4 treatment. Submit that into video game history.